Welcome to the Ronni Resonance Podcast, a space for women in transition, becoming, and rebirth. I'm Ronni, an intuitive guide, mentor, and multi-dimensional human learning right alongside you. Here we explore identity shifts, intuition, alignment, purpose, and the deeper truths you've been feeling but maybe haven't said out loud yet. This is where you return to yourself, gently, honestly, and with resonance. Take a breath. You're exactly where you're meant to be.
Well, it's really good to meet you. I know we've been chatting and everything. So
yeah, thank you for having me.
Any questions before we get started?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks, Ronni. Thank you so much for having me. I am Katie Neary, and I'm a professional organizer as well as a move manager at my company, Haven. I just celebrated 8 years in March, and I specialize in working with young families who are going through some type of transition. So whether that's moving in together, getting married, having a child, moving, as well as like the other end of the transition that is not as fun, like a divorce or the loss of a loved one. These transitions come with a lot of moving parts and a lot of logistics, and it's very difficult for people to manage them on their own. So that's where my team and I come in, and we are a support system for them in any way we can from A to Z.
I love that.
Yeah.
My husband and I have ADHD, and his is a little more hyperactive. Mine's more like inattentive. So
Yes.
very different organizational things. I'm definitely more the organizer, but he's more of like, let me just throw this in a box somewhere and it's clean, So
yeah,
that drives me crazy. So I definitely could have used you when we first moved into our house for sure.
Yes.
So maybe I'll hit you up for our next house. But
of course.
What I'm really interested to talk to you about today is just like how you got there, because from what I know, based on, what you have said so far, in your form and, things like that, is that this wasn't just like a straight path for you. Like there was a point where things started to shift for you in like just ways you didn't expect. So was there like this specific moment where things kind of clicked for you, or if you want to go back and kind of say like what you were doing and at what moment something clicked that you were like, I don't like this anymore?
Absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned that. The older I get, I think I realize that no one has a straight path, and that's something that we can embrace, and it's not a fault. It's just a part of life. But when you're younger and you're going through it, I think you think I should have all of this figured out. I'm so old at the ripe old age of 28 or whatever it is. And embracing that, like, no one ever has it figured out. We're all just kind of, making our way. So my background, I had about 10 years in just like typical corporate. I kind of just fell into my career and ended up falling up in my career. I worked at different medical education companies, and essentially our clients were pharmaceutical companies, and we would put on educational conferences for their doctors. Again, I did account and project management. So I was client facing. I made sure that projects were moving along logistically. And there was one day that this was about a little over 10 years ago. I was leading a call with one of our top clients, and I kind of zoned out while he was talking, and just it clicked to me. And I thought, I hate all of this so much. I have no interest in this industry.
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm stressed out by it. I've never liked it. And I always just thought that's what jobs were. I thought that's what careers were. It was like, yeah, you just, every Sunday you are really stressed out. Sometimes you cry a lot. Sometimes you don't sleep. And that's just work. And I was actually talking to my sister once, and I explained that to her. And she was like, that's not what your whole life has to be. That's crazy. Kind of thought, I need to change this. So I started working with a career coach, this wonderful woman, Jill Osevec. And then a week after I started working with her, I got fired from that job. So at the time, I was so stressed out, and it just so happened to be 2 weeks before my wedding. So I thought, that's when I thought I should have all this figured out. I'm 31, I'm 30 years old. What is wrong with me? I shouldn't be starting again. I can't start again. But thank God I was working with her, because it really was like a lifeline and something to put my focus into. And when we started working, I was extremely low on my self-esteem in terms of my career and, quite frankly, my overall life, because I've always really identified and, really resonated with working and building a career. And that's a part of my identity and my purpose.
Right.
So we kind of together intentionally helped me enter the professional organizing industry. I started working with, I joined the National Association of Professional Organizers. I met a bunch of amazing women who I'm still friends with to this day. And we all, it's a really collaborative community, and we all help each other a lot.
Wow.
And it just grew over the years. But there was a time period that was pretty rough and hard.
Yeah. Well, and that's I mean, it sounds like it just hit you all at once, like almost like you had been kind of going the day ins and day outs of doing the job. And like you said on Sunday, like, oh, this is normal to feel this way. But like it hit you all at once, but it really wasn't all at once in a way. It was almost like a gradual thing, but like your body was telling you, your mind just wasn't there yet, probably.
Totally.
And I see that literally all the time, just like people I work with and like mentoring and like helping even people in the beauty industry be like, there's a better way. Like you already are feeling this way, So, but yeah, so, I mean, it sounds like you didn't really get a chance. Like my next question was going to be like, did you ignore that feeling, or like, did you have to like actually explore that, I guess, but technically you were forced into it being fired, which is crazy.
I ignored the feeling. I pushed it all down. I tried to just ignore it and deflect it away in many different ways. And then I think that's exactly it. Like especially as women, our bodies tell us the truth. And for whatever reason, we don't trust our intuition always, and we don't listen. And then one day, finally, our brain kicks in and our mind has this like epiphany, like, oh, I hate this. And I need, for my mental and physical health, I need to move on and find something that's more purposeful for me.
Well, and I think too, people feel like they are like, okay, they talk themselves out of things because they're like, okay, there's this possibility, but this can't happen because of this or whatever. And there's a lot of like, just, I don't know, like parameters and things put on us with certain jobs, like me as an esthetician, and like, is it medical or is it not? And like, how much can I do? And so there's a lot of the time where it's like, it is scary to kind of step out of that and think outside of what you're doing, or how you're good at what you're doing and how it could be better doing something else, but just changing your approach to your job and like what that looks like and stuff. So sometimes it is just a subtle shift, but I mean, you were doing something that I think, like if you were working a corporate job, you were able to like be organized and compartmentalize your mind. And so that is probably why those two things I think ended up you were able to transition that pretty well, probably is what it sounds like. But like you said, you had kind of a moment there that I'll get to.
Yeah, exactly. What you were saying, that's kind of exactly it. And, I don't know if I ever really would have like taken the plunge and tried to create my own company unless I was forced to. And now I know that was absolutely the universe kind of like pushing me in the right direction. And it's not available to everyone right away to just say, oh, I'll quit my job and I'll just start a business. People have bills, people have children, people have student loans. But I think little by little, you can approach it slowly if you need to, and know that it's never going to be the right time. Ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Life is never going to die down. Life is never going to just like slow down perfectly for you to enter this. You're never going to feel ready. You're always going to be afraid.
Right.
But as with many things, you can do it. Like women are incredible and we can do everything and anything. So,
Great. Well, and I also too want to go back to when you talked about how it was 2 weeks before your wedding is when you were fired and like when you were getting married. So like, I know weddings, are always about just like a new chapter, like a new thing. And I think you were stepping into that in your personal life, and the universe was like, in your work too, you're stepping into that, which is really, that happens a lot, because it's like, you're never going to be ready. And then the universe has to push something into your way that's like, you're going to be ready, whether you like it or not.
Sink or swim, figure it out. Exactly. And again, many people in many different ways have those instances that it's kind of like, figure it out. So, and we always do somehow.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I know, so through, like, you had the coach, I think that helped you a lot, just as far as the transition of things. But I think you did kind of feel scared a little bit through that, maybe. And like, just, did you have any devastating moments of being like, oh, this didn't work, and like, now I have to like pivot? Or where were you, I guess, in that mindset, even though you had the coach?
Yes. So like I said, she was really a lifeline. She was so great. She helped me so much, but I could only work with her for so long. And obviously my funds were very low because I wasn't working. And I was terrified and really, like debilitated by anxiety. I have generalized anxiety, so I'm an anxious person in general, but during about I would say like a year and a half to 2 years after that, I was anxious for mostly all of the time, and then just had like little glimmers of like myself and happiness and hope, which sounds very dark, but that's just where I was at. I just was so terrified of what it meant. I thought it was a reflection upon me that I had gotten fired. Again, I thought like everyone has it figured out. I should have it figured out. This is terrible, but everybody can always start again. And I was starting again, and I worked really hard to kind of like work through those feelings in many different ways. But it's really hard to just enter something new when you've known another, whole type of career. Specifically switching from like corporate to your own business. It's like a totally different animal. And you kind of think like, there's no way I can own a business. I have no idea how to do this. But pretty much everyone who starts anything, or a business, or, getting married, becoming a mom, whatever it is, buying a home, you have no idea how to do it. And you just figure it out along the way somehow.
Yeah. Well, and so I would say, I don't like to toot my own horn, but like when I was younger, even in my 20s, I was like a very amazing, like, employee. Like if you wanted someone to be your employee, I was probably your person. But as an esthetician and working in spas, but like with a job, I think it was like 2015, I got fired from a job. And it's because I started asking some questions I shouldn't be asking about just things within the job. And even though that's not the reason I was fired, the reason I was fired was because they said, well, we think you'd work better for yourself. And I said, say no more. And I started a spa, and I've been a business owner for 10 years now. But like you said, like you said, I was like, well, what was funny was I really hated that job. So I was like on my way home, like not even crying, calling my mom, being like, I just got fired, but then I'm like, shit, what do I do now? Like I got to figure that out. And I thought maybe that is the time that I start this thing. And so I think, like we said, I think just sometimes those things happen and you're like, okay, maybe this is the right time for this.
Totally.
Something I've been thinking about. So yeah, that's interesting. I don't get a lot of people that have had those same experiences. Like to even tell someone you've been fired from a job is uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Because they're like looking at you like, wait, what's wrong with you? And it's like nothing.
Totally. It's so common, but for whatever reason, we attach so much shame to it. And you really do think of it as like a moral failing of like, I can't believe that they let me go. But I would say like more and more, obviously there is so little stability in really any job. A corporation would replace you in a moment. As loyal as you are and as valuable as you are, it's a business at the end of the day. So they're going to let you go if they need to.
Yeah.
And that's really scary because most of us you're at work and you're dedicating yourself to work much more than you're even home, than you're with your own spouse or family sometimes. So it's such a huge part of your life and identity. So when that's taken away from you, it really is like a blow to your ego for sure.
That's so true. yeah, I just think about my husband because he's in corporate and he has spent the last, I would say 15 years proving his worth and finally just got a VP position. And
Yeah.
I mean, he's 35. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's young for that. But I feel like, it is hard. It's one of those things where he even thought about starting his own business and
Hmm.
he's like, I don't know. And then they gave it to him. And so,
Which is great.
but
Congrats.
we also know that like it could be taken. Something could
Yes.
happen. So
Yes.
we do understand that too. And that's the hard part. It's like either side of it, you're going to have risk. And
100%. Yeah. It's just different types of risk.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yes. So I guess with that, I know you said like you were questioning your self-worth, things like that. I mean, did you feel behind? I mean, you were 28, right? So I mean, you were
I was 30,
oh,
turning
30 on that.
31. So
I see. So I mean, did you feel that, I guess, at 30, or do you feel like you were like at the right age for that?
I felt really behind. I felt terrified. I thought I
Yeah.
should have everything figured out. And when you dedicate that much time, it's like 8 to 10 years of dedicating yourself to one career. You just think, what was
Yes.
the point at that time? You think, what was the point of that? Why did
Yeah.
I do all of that? And then, of
Right.
course, reflecting on it, every single experience that you have, whether it's work, life, it all builds to the person that you're trying to become.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot in that industry. Just because I didn't like the industry, I learned how to be a collaborative coworker. I learned how to manage people. Account services was really beneficial for me because it's a client facing position. So, and
Um,
now I am always client facing, and
right.
being on with clients is very different than working by yourself or working from home. It's a whole different animal. Project management helped me, understand logistics and how to keep a project moving and create a timeline. So there was a lot of things that boded well for not just like actual physical organization, but being a business owner for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you're having kind of like also through this process, like an identity collapse almost where you're
Yeah.
like, like, wait a second. So, I guess with that, I mean, what started to unravel as far as your identity, like going from that corporate and like doing that and then moving into this other thing? Like, what were the things you had to get rid of as corporate stuff that you had to
Yeah.
change for that new identity? Like, how did that happen?
Well, I always wanted the safety net of a corporation. And I
Yeah.
wanted, there's obviously a lot of perks for working for a company. They take care of essentially everything. And then you produce the work and, obviously you're an employee. I loved the consistent salary, obviously. But, if you kind of reframe that, you can create your own stability. And even just the fact that you don't have a cap on your salary is a really awesome feeling,
Right.
because it's not just a set amount. You have to work very hard to create your own salary, but technically the sky's the limit within reason.
Yeah.
And you can, or when you feel ready, you can raise your rates. So you can kind of be in control of your own earnings, which again, for anyone is powerful, but specifically for women, I think that's, a really great feeling. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, and especially if you've worked with people through divorce and things like that, I'm
yeah,
sure there's been
exactly.
so, and then I guess with that identity changing, what part of the identity do you think you were losing? Just the need for that security?
For sure. The fact that I thought that I needed that security and I couldn't trust myself to run a business. When I
Yeah.
first started out being an organizer, I wanted to work for another organizer. And I interviewed with a couple organizers, and thankfully I didn't really get those jobs because ultimately, I love being a business owner. Like the freedom of it, make my own schedule and the pride of building my own brand, audience,
Mhm.
voice, even down to the name, logo, Instagram, like it's all me,
Yeah.
with help, of course, of people. But
Yeah.
that's a huge sense of pride. And it has become a part of my identity and made me a much more confident person to be able to bet on myself. And then I can sustain that and see what I've built over the years.
Yeah.
It changes who you are for sure.